Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Review. I'm Alex.
I'm Sean.
And we're going to be reviewing A Wrinkle in Time. That was me tessering. So before we go any further, this is a spoiler review.
Yes.
So if you have not seen the movie yet, go do that. But also before that, read the book.
I didn't read the book.
That's okay. So it's actually going to be really interesting to see your take on it versus mine, because A Wrinkle in Time is actually my favorite book. The book was written by Madeleine L'Engle in 1962, which is actually way earlier than I thought it was. And there's actually 5 books in the series.
That I do not know.
Yeah, so we're looking at sequels probably, guys. There's A Wind in the Door, A Swiftly Tilting Planet, and then a bunch of other ones that get like totally weird. As if A Wrinkle in Time is not weird enough.
It's pretty weird.
So, yeah, read the book first, if you haven't already, because it's just a really interesting book. So, all I can think about after watching this movie is Big Oprah. Hashtag Big Oprah. I couldn't help but just giggle every time she was on screen. You know,
when she was big?
When she was big or small or just doing whatever, I was just like, Oprah, all powerful, all knowing being. It kind of makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah.
So let's start with your thoughts on the film, because you haven't read the book.
No.
So I'm just actually really curious to know what you sort of took away from it.
I mean, the biggest takeaway would be that it's a visual spectacle.
Yeah.
It is a very, very beautiful looking movie. And I think the biggest takeaway is going to be that, regardless of anything else. Like, it wouldn't surprise me Oscar season next year that this gets nominated for visual effects and for cinematography. It's a very, very beautiful movie.
There are a lot of really beautiful moments, I would agree with you. But for me, I felt like it was just too CGI heavy. And, you know, of course, you're in the universe, that's to be expected, but it felt a little too spectacle-ish to me. I felt like I was being bombarded with, like, a sort of show-offy, like, hey, look what we can do, look how pretty this can be. Whereas in the book, the way that these different planets are described, it's just sort of, it's a little quieter, you know, it's not quite as in your face, like, wow, what an amazing place. So Madeleine L'Engle does a really good job describing these different places in a way that doesn't make you feel, I'm just not sure it translated well, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I mean, knowing that it's based on a book and the way the movie plays out as it stands, for me, it did feel like there's certain parts that they just skipped over.
Yes.
And for me, the movie kind of, if you have read the book, there's some backstory that you probably already know, but as going in fresh, there's certain information that I would have liked to know that I'm pretty sure the book covers.
Yes, and that's actually one of my things that I did not like about this film, is that there were no rules, really, for the type of thing they're trying to explain and do. And in the book, there's all these rules. Like, when they go to this first planet, the one with the flowers, and it's just really beautiful. It's a really nice planet to tesser to if you haven't been outside the galaxy before.
That's true.
In the book, as they fly higher and higher, they start to, you know, you can't breathe, right? Yeah. So, and they're like, oh shoot, humans can't breathe. Oh no. So then they have to grab a flower and they have to breathe through the flower. And, you know, there's just all this sort of, all these rules about all these different worlds and like how humans manage to, you know, be able to survive there. Not least of which, obviously, just the idea of tessering in general, which is like, just sort of like a large concept to like wrap your brain around, which it is in the book as well. But I feel like they sort of took for granted a little bit.
They sure
exactly
did.
What was happening.
They took a lot of things for granted. Like, I don't know exactly how the Witches 3, I'll call them, like how they play into it. Yeah. Like, where do they get their powers from? I understand they're going throughout the galaxy and getting warriors to, you know, protect the light and fight against the dark. I get that. I get that. But, like, what is their, like, are they working for somebody else? Who, like, what is
going on?
Their powers from?
Yeah.
How do they meet the boy in the first place. Mm-hmm. Like, there's just so many different things that I'm assuming the book covers, but the movie just glosses over.
Yeah.
And I'm
I
pretty
feel like
sure
there's a missed opportunity there for some suspense too. Absolutely. Because I never truly felt like anybody was in danger because I didn't fully understand the way the universe works. I really want to understand how the universe works, guys.
Or how it actually works. Yeah. Like, I understand that it kind of manipulates people and puts darkness in them. I get that. But I didn't... And because it didn't really manifest itself into something else, it kind of filtered through the Charles Wallace. It just kind of manifested through him. So because it didn't take on a being, an image of itself, I felt like, well, they're kind of just fighting the kid. Yeah. Which, I mean, the kid did a very good job of acting for, like, he's probably like, 7 or 8. He did a good job, but because they filtered it through him, it kind of felt like, I don't know. The stakes were kind of lowered.
Yeah. And interestingly, in the book, Charles Wallace plays a much bigger part. He actually is sort of psychic, and they really didn't hone in on that whatsoever in the movie that we just saw. There's like maybe one moment at the beginning where he's making the milk, right? Yeah. And Meg says, "Why did you make so much?" And he's just like, "Well, I knew you'd be coming down. That's why I didn't go up there to bring it to you." Yeah. And also, like, you never know who's going to come over. So, like, they hinted a little bit at his sort of telepathic nature. But in the book, it's very clear that he's, like, a psychic child. Like, he's a very special child. Yeah. And that's the reason that it was able to get through to him so well, is because he sort of has this, like, expanded mind. Yeah.
All in the movie.
Yeah, all. Exactly. So, they missed little details like that really made this world or this universe so rich in the book that I felt was glossed over, like you said, in the interest of spectacle. So that's sort of my takeaway from it. Yeah, I will say, however, that the lead actress who played Meg, Storm Reed, did a really great job.
Oh, she did a great job.
She's just... she really embodies Meg. That is one thing that I think they got right from the books, is that she's sort of just what I pictured. And she's just so nice to watch, like she just kind of has that quiet way about her that just carries a lot of emotion. So I thought that was one thing that went
I actually liked her performance, because you can see at the beginning she's jagged, she lost her dad.
Self-conscious.
Yeah, and you can see that, and then you can just slowly see her confidence return as the movie goes on. But one thing I like to point out about, not necessarily Meg, but the grown-ups around Meg, judging her because she was damaged because she lost her dad. Yeah. Like, if you lose your dad...
That rang a little false
and considering, to me. Like, that didn't make any sense to me. You could see at the beginning they had a close relationship. Yeah. Before he disappeared. Yeah. And for them to just like, well, he's gone. All right, kids, snap out of it. Yeah. Yes, I know it's been 4 years, but you can't keep using that. Like, no, she is clearly traumatized.
Talking behind her back. Yeah, like all the teachers.
Yeah, like what kind of teachers are you? Like, you have to clearly understand that she is traumatized, and you can't just like completely brush over that. Like, oh yes, we know it was 4 years ago. Get over it, kid. Like, that kind of just...
It rang false. It felt very righty. It felt very exposition-y, like really just unnecessary and antagonization. However, I will say in the book that the principal, Mr. Jenkins, also plays like somewhat of a larger role in being one of the reasons that Meg feels so tormented. Yeah. But the way that they kind of played it in the movie it didn't hit home, it just felt like he was being rude.
Yeah, like they should have been more supportive of like she's lashing out a little bit, but then they should be more like, yes, I understand your dad, like what a grown-up should be doing to this child who's been traumatized. Especially, they shouldn't be like, the two teachers would be talking about the kid. Like, that was like, really? Like, come on.
Yeah, I could have done without a lot of that, actually.
Like, that annoyed me.
So in the sequel, actually, Mr. Jenkins the whole story basically revolves around him. Okay. Which we can talk about a little bit later when we talk about what's going to happen going forward. But yeah, all the adults in the film, and some of the moments just didn't. it didn't ring true with what was happening in the book, and it didn't ring true for like what a human would experience. For example, when they go to that first planet again, and they're all like, wow, I would be like, where am I? Where the fuck am I? What is going on? And I do feel like that was reflected in the book a little bit more.
Yeah.
Where like they are in awe and wonder, but they're not like having a great time the way that they were in the movie, which felt like really weird to me.
Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
It's like, here's a pretty thing. Here, these flowers, they talk in color, which is adorable, but also they never really, they don't really explore what these different flora and fauna are on the different planets, which is, like you said, we had to skip over quite a few dimensions and quite a few planets in the interest of time, obviously. But they missed my favorite planet, which is in the book. I don't remember the name of it right now, but we got a quick glimpse of it when they were traveling really quick, and they're like, "Oh, then he went there, then he went there, then he went there." The planet with the beasts. I don't know if you remember that moment. We got like a really quick little vignette of the beasts planet, and then we zoomed past, and they ended up on Camazotz or whatever it is. So I was really sad. Let me tell you a little bit about that planet. I'm clearly really excited about it. So it's the planet with the beasts, but they don't have eyes, right? So basically, what happens is Meg makes a mistake when she's tessering, and becomes somewhat like paralyzed and becomes really sick, because as we saw, she was having trouble tessering pretty much throughout the entirety.
She didn't believe in her true self.
Yeah, whatever. I don't really remember that exact thing being in the book. It probably is in some way. There's also sort of like a Jesus allegory in the book, but we don't have to talk about that. They obviously didn't really use that, unless you want to say that Oprah's Jesus. Maybe.
Well, I mean, she was pretty much hovering above them, basically. And
Big Oprah. # Big Oprah. So, the planet with the beasts, they don't have any eyes, and that's where they end up, and the beasts end up taking care of them, and like, you know, feeding them, and like getting their strength back and stuff. And it's just a really interesting, that would have been a really interesting planet to go to, especially because of all the beautiful imagery and all that stuff. It would have been really nice to see a planet where no one can see anything.
Yeah.
And so when Meg is talking to the beasts and talking about what it's like to see, they don't understand.
Yeah.
And they talk more about feeling, and they talk more about your other senses. And it's a nice moment of empathy, because Meg sort of learns to sort of think, and, you know, I'm sure Madeline Engel thought of this when she was writing it, to sort of teach children to think outside of their own little bubble, right? And how to empathize and understand different people's and different beasts, the way that they live. So I feel like I missed that planet.
That would have been an interesting place to go to.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they shot it and they just, like, as they were cutting the film, maybe they cut it out. Maybe it might be a deleted scene. Because that's something interesting that I would have hoped they would have thought would have been interesting enough to shoot. Maybe not put in the movie, but hopefully it's on the Blu-ray. I want to ask about Charlie. That's his name, right? Charles. No. The other boy.
Oh, Calvin.
The love interest.
Calvin.
Calvin. So in the movie, he's just kind of like thrown in there.
Yeah, that was so weird.
It just seemed really awkward for him just to be like, all right, hi, yeah, I'm going on an adventure with you. Like, for me, I would have wished that there would have been a scene where Meg throws a ball at the mean girl, that he was involved in that somehow.
I think there's one shot of him, maybe, like, he saw it happen, I think.
Maybe he was there. I'm not 100% sure, but I wish he was involved in it. And maybe he was the root of the angst or whatever that got her in trouble. That would have given her more pause to come to see her after that when she got home. And then that's how he got tangled up in it. Otherwise, now he just kind of shows up. Like, oh, who's this kid? Oh, yeah, now he's going on an adventure for Liam. Okay.
So I think in the books, he's really popular. He's on the basketball team. But I'm pretty sure he's really bad at math. And I think what happens is Meg is really good at math and is like trying to teach him about math. And they sort of, there's like this tutoring session, and then they run into the Mrs. who they go into the house like on the way home or something like that. And that's how sort of gets wrapped up like that. It's not necessarily this whole like, I want to go with you. Yeah, he's like mesmerized by her like immediately, which is so weird to me, because that's not, there wasn't really a romantic context, first of all, in the book. It was more of a, class system. You know, like Meg's the nerdy girl in school, and he's the most popular guy, and they end up sort of like understanding each other a little bit better. But there really wasn't a romantic element.
They sure put it in there in the movie.
They did, and that was a little disappointing.
I love your hair.
Felt a little creeped out, actually. Like,
well, I mean, but for me, because there was nothing to set it up, so it just kind of came. They kind of shoehorned it in.
Yeah, they like why was he there? You know what I mean? Like, they could have told this entire story without Calvin being there because they didn't hit home the whole idea of him being so popular and her being so unpopular. They
mentioned it. Yeah, that was it.
You get the idea that she's picked on. Yeah, but they didn't. You know, that whole trope, which, you know, is something you see a lot, where there's the nerdy character and the really popular one, and they come together and they have to go on an adventure together. But why?
Absolutely nothing.
Why was Calvin there? He did
nothing.
So in the third book, they end up married. And
what a surprise.
I know. But for me, I'm like, this guy's boring. Like, well, he didn't really do anything. You know,
he did this much. Nothing. He did nothing.
He just kind of was a liability, really. He didn't help. It was Meg who was always the one coming up with the ideas, and he ate a sandwich.
Literally a sandwich, yeah.
So that also did not work for me. I don't know. I think they kind of missed the point of basically the whole story. Yeah. And let's not forget, 1962, when the book came out, we hadn't even been to the moon yet. Yeah. So I think we take a little bit for granted that a lot of the themes that Madeleine L'Engle had put into the initial book, A Wrinkle in Time, I think we take them for granted now because, we've been to the moon. Things have advanced so much that we take for granted this exploration that she had imagined, which was really beautiful at the time. Yeah. I mean, Sputnik had only been, the satellite had only been the first object in, like, outer space a few years prior to that. So there's sort of like the science fiction-y, I think people don't recognize how science fiction-y the book actually was, where I just felt sort of like they hit the fantasy element a little too hard in the movie, personally, and they sort of skipped over the science fiction part of it.
Well, especially considering how they didn't explain how the dad got there in the first place. Yeah. I mean, they kind of explain like, oh, it was the formula. But I get that, but once he got there, what did he do? Like, why is he important? Yeah. He's more of a MacGuffin than anything else. Mm-hmm. But it's just trying to get to him. And totally, I understand that them getting back to him, it kind of helps Meg along her journey to get back to her true self. Mm-hmm. I get that. But once they literally meet him, he does nothing. He doesn't do anything. Yeah. So I'm like, why was he then so important besides because it's in the script, and besides like getting Meg back to her true self so she can, save the galaxy in the next book and the next movie, whatever. His purpose was nothing.
Yeah, and it's actually really funny because he's in the book less than he is in the movie. Wow, okay. Which works because that's sort of what a MacGuffin is. It's like, it's something that's important to the characters on screen, but not important to us because we understand that the story's actually about something else, that's they sort of hit that home, but then they spent too much time on Dad. Yeah. We got too many scenes with him, too many emotional scenes, we lost focus a little bit there. Like, they're trying to save him, but like, we don't care that much,
Like, is he, like, does he have a secret? Does he know something that we don't know? Like, because, like, I agree with you, because we saw so much of him, I'm thinking by when they find him, he's going to have some information or be able to do something that's going to help them defeat it at the end, but he didn't. He had nothing. Yeah. Like, even when they were, like, going back home, I was like... He
abandoned Meg twice now. Abandoned her to go fly through the universe, then abandoned her on Camazotz. Yeah. It's like, what a jerk.
I leaned to you when they were about to go home. I was like, where is he? Because like, I don't know where he is. And then they go back to Earth and he's just, he's over there.
It's just in the yard.
I mean, I guess when you get Chris Pine... You might want to write some more things for him to do because you got Chris Pine and he's a great actor. don't get me wrong, I love Chris Pine. He did a good job of what he was given, but the way the movie was written, he's just a MacGuffin, and that's it. And the way the movie set him up, I thought he was going to be more than that, but he was just more of a plot device than anything else.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that front. Like I said, I feel like they sort of missed the point of what... They really needed to hone in a little bit more on what this is actually about. Yeah. One other little thingy was on that first planet, Mrs. Watson is supposed to turn into a centaur. So she's supposed to be half horse, but also sort of like look like a man. Because they're shapeshifters, right? Yeah. So she turns into like this male centaur type thing, and that's where they go flying. Like, but instead they made her into a leaf. It's like, what a weird choice. Like, why change that part? You know what I mean? Like, that was such an unimportant change to make that I was just sort of like, and it's so iconic. It's on the cover of every single, printed version of A Wrinkle in Time, the centaur. Maybe and it's flying through the
visually more appealing. I don't know.
That was not visually more appealing. That was terrifying.
I don't know. I mean, it was CGI a weird shape.
Leaf Witherspoon.
Yeah, it was a weird shape, like a leaf. But not knowing that it was supposed to be something else, I'm like, okay, sure. That's interesting. So I went with it.
It was very cartoony. It was sort of it didn't. Here's another thing about the books is that they're very dark. There's a lot of darker planets. There's a lot of really scary moments, and some of the description is the way they describe. Sorry, the way Madeleine L'Engle describes tessering for Meg. It's like an incredibly painful, terrifying experience where she can't breathe, and there's like this really nice descriptive quality to all these moments that are actually really scary. And I didn't feel scared at all during the movie. I felt like it was too much spectacle, and they missed the point of the darkness.
Yeah, but I think Disney, because I know you're going to say, it's because of Disney, but I think they skirted right on the surface of that. Because when we see her tessering, we see her kind of face go through it. Yeah. So that's us understanding that, she can't breathe. And that's why everybody else is like, well, we're fine. Why are you struggling? Because she's not her true self. Yeah. And the fact when they got to the part where it was the Stepford wives and the kids bouncing the balls, like that can be a little scary. Mm-hmm. And then there was this lady sitting next to us that was all freaked out about it. But
yeah, we had some characters at the theater.
Yeah, but it was just very surface level stuff. Like you could see how it could go dark if they wanted to. They could easily go there, but they didn't. And I don't know if that was Ava DuVernay's choice or Disney's choice or a combination of the two. Mm-hmm. But I think they could have gone there and it would have been okay, or at least just go a little step further. They kind of put their foot right up next to the line, but they didn't go over it. Mm-hmm. But just putting a toe over it would have been okay, and I don't think it would have sacrificed anything.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, on that front, the villain of sorts, the evil presence.
Villain is right.
Yeah, which, okay. The way the end of the book is described is a lot scarier. They describe him as a brain, like somewhat of a human brain, and there's this descriptive quality to that scene in the book where it's like a heartbeat, and the heartbeat just becomes so incredibly, and that's why the kids are bouncing the balls like that, is because the entire planet, Camazotz, is strung throughout with this beating heart, or this beating brain, which is like a heartbeat. And so everything sort of follows on that planet in this heartbeat. And they really missed an opportunity with that, because that would be such an incredible sound design moment.
And kind of hear it in the background.
Yeah, that could it builds. And it would build like that. And I think there was maybe one moment where you could kind of hear it in the movie, but I feel like they really missed an opportunity for suspense, and suspense is something that I felt like the movie was sorely lacking.
Yeah, I agree, because even when they're bouncing the ball, you could, the boy's like, I don't like that sound. Yeah. But again, it's just them putting their toe in front of the line. They could have went a little bit deeper and put a little bit more edge to that scene, because it felt like it was building to something.
Yeah.
especially like when the mother starts talking to them, like it could have like she could have like morphed into something else, or something else could have like really put a punctuation on that scene, but it just kind of like, oh no, and then it kind of just went away, and I was like, well, you built it up and you just literally all that suspense, you did nothing with it. Yeah. So.
And the whole point that they were trying to get at, which I explained earlier with Charles Wallace, the fact that he's so prone to evil entering him because of how smart he is or how telepathic he is or whatever, that was the whole point when he hugs Meg and he's like, I don't like that sound. Because he's the one that is the most susceptible to that. So that's what they were trying to do by putting that line in there, which is why our red-eyed friend was able to was sort of able to trick him in that way. They used a repetitive pattern. That's why he was reading off the math equations or the multiplication tables like that in that pattern, because he knew that Charles Wallace can't handle that for whatever reason. But you know, like we've been saying all along, they glossed over that, and they have these hints in there that I got because I've read the book so many times. But for someone who probably hasn't, it's just sort of like,
that didn't make much sense to me. Like, I get like he didn't get tricked by the sandwich. It was like, oh, this is sand. Mm-hmm. And even that's why Meg didn't even eat it, because she was already suspicious in the first place, because that's part of her nature. Yeah. When he started eating, like, no, this is sand, and the other boys like, yeah, it's good. Yeah. And it was like, it's like, no, eat mine. No, it's sand. So they kind of hinted like there's more to this kid than what the movie's telling us. Yeah. But knowing that the book explains that he has powers, the movie literally just washed right over that fact. Mm-hmm. And you get a sense that there's more to him, especially like because he knows the witches from before, like he's familiar with people, and they say like, oh, I don't talk to strangers talk to me. Yeah. They're hinting at it, but I don't understand why they just don't come out and say he has this kind of power. Yes. This is why he's important. Yes, because then it would make everything else that happens a lot more sense. Yeah, and in the sequel, A Wind in the Door, Charles Wallace has sort of started to hone these powers a little bit more, and he falls ill. So this other being like comes to him from some other dimension to help him with his inner sickness. So they actually go into Charles Wallace's like mitochondria, and that's where, so it's like the inner universe, which is kind of interesting because Mom was talking about, I've been always really interested in like the smaller part of the universe, and Dad thinks big. So the second book's actually about the inner universe. It's just a little tidbit there. But yeah, Charles Wallace plays such a big role in the sequel that I find it surprising that they didn't really give us all the information in this one, because I imagine they're going to want to make a sequel. Well, especially if it does well. It's Disney. They love doing sequels, so I don't understand. Maybe they wanted that to be more revealed in the second one, but you can't always assume there is going to be a second one. Yeah. You want to put all your information in the first one to then build upon that in the sequel, especially if it was in the book. I don't understand why it made no sense to me why. It left me with more questions than answers of why they didn't do that.
Right. Well, so, Meg, her journey, at least, if you sort of forget about all the other stuff, she becomes a more confident young lady and more kinder to herself and her appearance, and just sort of starting to understand how special she really is, which I felt was actually in the book a little more delicately done. I felt like they just threw it at us in the movie every turn of the way, like, you're so special, you're the one, you're so amazing, you have the light, and it's like, I get it, Meg's great. But I felt like there was a little more nuance. It felt a little more realistic as someone who has been self-conscious at that age. Everyone probably has.
Yeah, to a degree.
It didn't feel real to me, especially because they're just on this crazy journey, and like she's still just like nervous about, like, she's still self-conscious about her hair. Like, what is going on? I don't know.
Well, black girls are always subconscious about that.
Well, that's true. That was also why I felt like Calvin's comment was really creepy, because there was that subtext to it also. Yeah. Like, I was like, don't ask to touch it. Oh God, he's not going to touch it, is he? Like, I was so afraid. Yeah.
No.
which actually would have been a little funny, but also then why we don't like Kelvin probably for that reason.
Well, just get rid of Kelvin. Like that love story didn't go anywhere. Just get rid of it. I know he's in the book, but in the movie he served no purpose. So just get rid of him. Spend more time with Meg. Spend more time on the dad. Especially if he becomes more important. Spend more time on the witches. Spend more time just exploring the universe.
Yes, that's
so
what I was going to
say. We get a better understanding of how their powers works, how everything works. Mm-hmm. I don't understand how anything works. I don't get it.
You're right. You're not wrong. Yeah, and that was one thing sorely missing.
I want to know how it works.
I will say, however, though, that the costumes were amazing.
On point. Especially like Oprah's and all the witches' costumes were great. Michael Pena's costume looked pretty good. Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah. That scene didn't do anything for me. In the book, I think they visit him a couple times in the book, actually. And it's just a little bit more meaningful, maybe. But
and the weird thing about that scene is that they kind of build up to it, like that he's very important or he has a lot of knowledge, and they kind of don't learn anything.
Well, he's like, well, close your eyes and see what you see.
Yeah.
It's like, really? That's all
you had to go to him to do that?
Yeah. I think he's the one who has visions, I think, in the book, actually.
Okay.
So, but yeah, costumes were good. I feel like the cast, I felt like Oprah was actually also really well cast into that role.
She did a very good job.
It just, that's it. That's Mrs. Who. Like, that's sort of what I picture. Well, I didn't picture Oprah growing up reading the book, but that type of character, that wise, just sort of powerful, calm presence that Oprah has.
Yeah, and then Reese Witherspoon did a really good job being sarcastic and kind of out there. The casting was really good, especially with Storm. I think she did a great job, and I love to see where her career goes. But for Ava, I was really looking forward to this movie. And if you don't know, Disney is really looking at Ava to do more things. Like, so she could have done Black Panther if she wanted to, but she turned it down. She did this instead. Curious to see, we'll never know how Black Panther would have turned out if Ava did it instead of Ryan Coogler. Yeah. But I'm curious to see where her career goes now.
Well, so, that's another thing, too, that I was really disappointed in. I don't know if it's because they maybe did a lot of pickups or something. The whole movie was shot here. Like, it was so close on everybody's face all the time that I felt a little claustrophobic, and it felt choppy. It didn't feel graceful to me.
Certain parts, yeah.
Which was surprising. Like, I really thought that at least that would have been a graceful sort of... Because, that's her choice. Her choice is, the shots. And maybe it was an editor thing, too. I'm not sure. But it just didn't work. And then there's music everywhere. Like, there's so much music, but, like, unforgettable music, Like, too much pop music, in my opinion. And then also, it was Ramin Djawadi who did the score. He did the score of Game of Thrones. He's incredible. Yeah. But that was a completely forgettable score. Like, I don't even remember one theme from it, from the movie.
Not really.
So I don't know what happened there. It could have been just a producer pressure type thing. It could have been a lot of different parts. But I didn't feel like it was even very well directed. Which I thought at least that was going to be the one thing we could take away from it.
Yeah, but I don't know if it was because the script was not as strong as it could have been.
Yeah.
Or Disney was putting a lot of outside pressure on her. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think Ava DuVernay is very talented, and I don't think this is a good representation of what she can do.
Yeah, I agree.
I hope Disney does not lose faith in her, especially if the movie doesn't do good.
Yeah.
To give her something else that she can shine through.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens, and obviously we'll see what happens with any sequels that might occur, because there could be up to 5. But I don't think they'll touch those later ones, because they start getting really weird.
Well,
I know that they time travel in the third one, and they meet like a young Native American boy, and it's just sort of like, what is going on? Anyway, I just wanted to end with one more thought about when they're listing off all of the other light warriors.
Yeah.
Like Gandhi, Winston Churchill. They didn't say Winston Churchill, but like, that would be pretty funny. They're like listing, like Buddha, they're like listing off a whole bunch of other like light warriors. I wanted so bad for them to say, and Oprah.
or like Reese Witherspoon's character say, oh, and Oprah.
Yeah.
And Oprah could have been like, yeah, I like her. Yeah, like something like that. That would have been. Like,
why didn't they do that?
That would have been. I know that would have been a far departure, obviously, from the book, but I thought that was like a missed opportunity. That's like a joke sitting on a silver platter, waiting to be told.
Yeah.
And everybody would have cracked up if they did, because you could see that Oprah would be one of the warriors. Like she's very outgoing and she does a lot of good for the community and for the country.
It actually makes a lot of sense. It would have made
perfect sense. It would have made perfect sense. I totally would agree with you. That's a joke they should have made.
Well, that's the other thing too. Is tonally it was all over the place. Like I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be fun. Like there were some moments that I thought were supposed to be funny, but. You know, like every movie, even horror films, action, thriller, whatever, everything has to have a little bit of humor in it.
Sure.
But number one, I didn't think anything was particularly funny, and I couldn't really tell if it was trying to be. But that would have been great if they would have just gone gung-ho and be like, all right, this is going to be a comedy fantasy, you know. Like
which would have been fine.
Yeah, which would have been okay. Like what they did with Jumanji. Like just scrap the original source material, which would have made me feel a little sad, but I also feel sad watching what I just watched.
Or at least just, just kind of stick to the core of it and then kind of build upon it as you see fit.
Yeah.
But it kind of, like I said, it's just the word of the day is just surface. They just played really on the top of things. Don't get too deep into anything. Just play right on the top, just like a cake. So I would love to have, got deeper into it, but Disney didn't choose to do that for whatever reason. We may never know.
All right. Well, what's your final? What's your how many Tesseracts out of 10? What do you rate it?
Going in, I was thinking like, oh man, this movie's gonna get probably like an 8 or a 9. But after watching it, like I said, visually the movie's that's what's gonna stick out to me the most. Is visually, I thought the CGI worked. I agree. There might have been a lot of it, but not enough to take me out of it because it was really good, in my opinion. I would say 6.5 Tesseracts out of 10.
Okay. I'm going to give it a 5, and that's generous.
Okay.
Yeah, it didn't really do anything for me. But you guys should see it anyways. And then we can talk about it. Because I love talking about it. And the book is so good. You should read the book. It's not a very long book. But it really is cool, like the stuff that.
Well, now the movie ruined the book. I don't want to read the book.
I'll see. Now. Yeah, I gotta go back and do it. So anyway, thanks for joining us for this review of A Wrinkle in Time. Be sure to like and subscribe so that you can tune in when we do more stuff coming down the line. And be sure to comment below with what you thought about the movie. Did you read the book? Did it work for you? Did it not work for you? How did you feel about Meg, the CGI, and just all the stuff that we talked about that didn't really come together for me as a full film? I would love to hear from you. So, till next time, I'm Alex.
I'm Sean.
We'll see you next time on Pop Culture Universe.
Bye, guys.